Coming in now or no?
Hello, I'm going to bring this down a little bit. Test, 1, 2. Testing from the... After 152 days, the wait is finally over. NPL Victoria football is back for 2025. Tomset Stadium in Sunshine, the place where a curtain rises on another season of top-flight football in the state, and one that shapes potentially one of the biggest in the NPL era. A national second tier looms large on the horizon. Two big boys are back in the top tier. Melbourne Victory and Preston Lions join the cast of classic clubs that you know and love. And it is two of those classic clubs that will get us going in round one of the new year as Melbourne Knights and Heidelberg United reignite a 63-year-old rivalry. Yes, Croatia and Alexander, they've come a long way from a 4-2 thriller at the Maribyrnong Park Speedway back in '62, but some 90-odd meetings later, the objective remains the same: to start a new season. 3 points against the old enemy. And the ambitions for the season ahead for Melbourne Knights, looking to make the finals under their now permanent head coach, former player coach Ivan Franjic, having narrowly missed out last season. And they're looking to do it with a series of new signings, not least a trio from Heidelberg United, headlined by Cade Shepherd, who starts, the former Burgers legend, against his old side tonight. For Heidelberg, the visiting side in yellow and black, it is their sophomore season under John Anastasiadis, and they have silverware in their sights, having finished 4th in his debut campaign and gone on an impressive cup run, headlined by the slaying of A-League's giant Central Coast Mariners in the Australia Cup round of 32. But it's the same club, it's the same coach, it is a very different side. John Anastasiadis has undergone an off-season changing of the guard that has seen a combined total of 893 games. Yes, you heard that correctly, worth of NPL Victoria experience go out the door. The likes of Sean Ellis, Josh Pinn, Kane Shepherd that we mentioned, all gone in place of a new age, a new era, but hopefully the same sort of football that NPL Victoria fans have come to know and love from Johnny A's sides over the years. You could not ask for a better picture to start season 2025. The sun shining down gratefully on Summer Street, fans in the stands, and two teams in readiness to get the new season underway. Strap in if you're watching on at home. We've got 30 good weeks of this goodness to come, and it is so great to be back for 2025. Lockie Flanagan joined in commentary at Knight Stadium, at Tomset Stadium, I should say, by Katie Lambeski. Welcome back, Katie.
Welcome back, Lockie, and a happy NPL Victoria Day to all who celebrate. This is fantastic to be here. Great atmosphere building up. The centre of our universe, and I cannot wait to see what transpires. Tomset Stadium is alight. Good Lord, it's going to take some getting used to saying that. A name change here at Knights at now former Knights Stadium. And hopefully a new era for the Knights. Some great improvements done around the ground. And as we are underway here, round one of the NPL Victoria season.
Welcome back, NPL Victoria. It's Heidelberg who get us underway. They'll be attacking the left of screen in their classic yellow and black, and it is, of course, traditional colours for the home side at Tomset Stadium. The recent subject of a, you may see it during the course of the broadcast, ongoing $2 million upgrade. Fresh concreting around the ground. And we're told concreting along the terraces to come as well, as Heidelberg look to get things going early. It's one of their new men in Max Bassetto, who just brought off a little bit more than he could chew on that forward foray. Max Bassetto, signed from the Oakley Cannons, the former Western United youth product. He slots straight into what looks like it'll be a front three for John Anastasiadis' side tonight. Partnering him, the man from Altona Magic, Bull Duarch, after a very impressive first season in NPL Victoria last year. And it is a return, although it wasn't a very long departure, for one of the stories of 2024, Sabit Noor, who went to the A-League with the aforementioned Central Coast Mariners, scored 2 goals, made 17 appearances, and is back on loan at the Burgers, hoping to keep on keeping on from a very impressive handful of games at the end of last season. And here's Duarch given one to chase. Oldfield advances off his line, and the And in the middle, Michael Mammis awards a throw to Heidelberg United. A big night for Michael Mammis. Game number 100 as an NPL Victoria men's match official, just the 4th person in the NPL era to bring up that mark. Having started out reffing games in the top tier back in 2016. Yokokawa lost it in flight. The spillage fell to Lesiotis. It's a nice turn, a decent cross. Buildup was there. It's a little bit askew. Newell contests in the face of one of Melbourne Knights' new men. It's a familiar name if you're a big Victorian. Alex Hurd. More on him later. As it is Heidelberg with control of the early knockings. Dalibor Markovic. High up and under. Easy pickings initially for Chris Oldfield, but had to just make sure everything was all in order after a secondary spillage. We mentioned that name, Alex Hurd, the son of AFL great James. Hoping he can have a similar impact in a different code. A number of new faces for the Knights out there tonight. Kane Shepherd, we mentioned, will lead the line alongside Kieran Bramwell. Number 10 on the ball is another new man from Altona, Stephen Lawless. He's in midfield alongside Jack Morton. Steve White and Anthony Duzell both available, but on the bench. They suffered injuries in pre-season, so a little bit of time for them still to come back to full fitness. Lesiotis around the challenge of Morton with ease. Trying to thread the needle for Basetto. Now Yokokawa. Stood up nicely by Carrigan. Ali. Yokokawa sets a task for Sabitnor, who turned on the afterburners, cuts it into the middle. And it's away by another Melbourne Knights new man, Miguel Cunha. 30-year-old Portuguese central defender, standing at 194 centimetres tall and standing tall for the Knights' defence there, Katie.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good signs from him early on. Need to stand up and make the interception there. Really liking the approach of Heidelberg United here. Really calm, really in control of this. They're really getting on the front foot to start here. It's pretty clear what they're going to try and do. They're going to work that ball wide to Basetto and Senior and try to link up with Joash and Lesiotis being a real key fulcrum to that early days. Corner to come in now.
Here comes the corner from Heidelberg. Knorr just prods it back into a central area. And the touch now for that other triumvirate of Heidelberg signings to Tomset Stadium in the off-season, Leo Marzi. Only one season at the Burgers, but was a regular contributor in the 4th place finish of 2025, 26 appearances, handful of goals. What have you made of Knights' transfer business in the off-season, Katie?
Interesting to say the very least. I know that there was definitely some change, some depth that needed to be introduced, and I think that they have that. Just looking at some of the names on the bench now, Steve White, particularly, I know injuries are particularly curtailing him there, but at the same time, it's such a good option to have. Again, he'll be someone who I'm sure will come on tonight, but I like the way that they've set up. Joseph Franich, a proper off-season now. He'll be having to have the same impact that Johnny A did in his first season. In that rebuild he started with Heidelberg United. Some good movement here off the ball again. Working really well.
Dalibor Markovic winds up from distance and brings a solid save out of Chris Oldfield. Well, Dalibor Markovic fancied something special on his Heidelberg United debut. And you can't say the space didn't open up for him, Katie. He didn't think you could see for a while that the shot was on its way. The defence never really closed, and Chris Oldfield did very, very well in the end.
Too easy for me. At the same time, he just had a lot of time to plot that shot, to get himself into space. There needs to be more aggressive approach needed there from the Knights to try and shut him down defensively. They're just a little bit reactive at the moment, and Heidelberg looking to press their advantage here at the moment. Calm playing out from the back here now.
Stop me if you've heard this before. Another Heidelberg new man on the football here. Ryan Lefleen, a Melbourne boy returning home after a brief stint with Brisbane Roar. He made 2 A-League men's appearances, but spent the majority of his time with the youth side playing Queensland NPL. Formerly a striker. And if you look at him, it's not hard to see why. He's certainly got the frame for it, but converted to a centre-back in the Victory Academy back when he was playing NPL 3 football. And a player, Katie, I think, who is really reflective of the kind of profile that John Anastasiadis has looked to replenish this side with. A lot of experience has gone out the door, of course. Plenty of legends have said goodbye. And they've been replaced with youthful players who have got defending to do here. Dunlop, able to keep that alive, the man from Port Melbourne. Kane Shepherd. All eyes on him tonight at Tomset Stadium.
A proven goal scorer at this level, that is for sure. Someone with a lot of experience and someone who can really, bang them in, and that's what the Knights are going to be hoping for. Again, Heidelberg United, an off-season of change, as you mentioned, Lachlan. I think it was needed, ultimately. Someone who you have to keep evolving, especially now in such an ambitious era. National Second Division on the horizon. As the offside flag goes up on the far side, Knights is trying to get some attacking momentum going there.
Well, we mentioned the number of games outgoing, 893 NPL Victoria appearances that John Anastasiadis said farewell to. Only 90 coming the other way, which, look, they're younger players, and some of them are obviously coming from interstate, which, that's the selectivity of my stats, obviously. Doesn't speak to those kind of appearances, but it certainly feels like Johnny A is trying to replenish the side, and also the talk around town is that in pre-season they've been training 4 times a week, which is, up on what you'd usually get for a side at this level. You kind of have to be a young person to be able to make those sort of commitments, don't you?
For sure. Especially with lifestyle, especially at this time of greater professionalisation here as the Knights go forward.
That was a great ball for Hurd, who returns the favour to Morton, but the fleet-footedness of Sabit Noor comes up trumps for Heidelberg. There's not much in the way of runners, and he will try and set a task for Buildup. Miguel Cunha helps that one out of harm's way. Interesting season in prospect for the Knights. It was a narrow miss out on finals to sister club Dandenong City last season. And we've got another sister club to take on in a pretty entertaining round 1 that we'll get into later against St Albans Saints. Shepherd robbed the ball by his former teammate Yokokawa, who rode a couple of sticky challenges, but perhaps still had his mind on the earlier altercations. It wasn't the best prod forward in the direction of the Heidelberg runners. There was certainly an improvement from Ben Suri, or from the Ben Suri era to Ivan Franjic when he did take over as, well, he was player, he was coach, he was captain. I think he was also technical director at one point. He was sort of Melbourne Knights Mr. Everything. Has refined the focus this year, and with the redevelopments around Knights, they haven't set the world on fire with their signings, but I think there is some ambition for improvement at Tomset Stadium. And Bramwell is one of the old heads, comparatively speaking. This cross not finding any willing recipients. And Jamal Ali left with little choice under the pressure of Alex Hurd to put that one straight out of play.
Just to pick up on that point about the Knights signing in the off-season, right? They didn't quite create the splash or the headlines that they normally make, but at the same time, I think that's kind of a good thing. An underwater squad, if you will, going about their business in a quiet fashion, but also in an impactful one, they hope. And you can see the visible changes around the ground, on the field. Stefan Brechovic as well on the bench, someone who's can take on one of those central defensive positions. Masatu Chiba, who's I'm looking forward to seeing if he gets on the ground tonight as Alex Hurd pushes forward here.
Hurd forward again, the left-footed cross, or Dunlop was sizing it up with real intent. Dalibor Markovic glanced it away from danger. 20-year-old Alex Hurd. He's a family of sporting pedigree, but he's looking an impressive player in his own right. Western United Academy talent in his early knockings at Tomset Stadium. Leo Marzi towards the byline, drives it low and nipped in the bud by Ryan Lethlean. Melbourne Knights, they were, Katie, I think it's fair to say, slow starters in this fixture, but just feels like they've found a foothold now as we get into the 10 to 20 minutes of the fixture.
Much better, much better. They haven't been too overwrought from that early press, I think you would say, from Heidelberg. Corner comes in now.
Shepherd's delivery, all tipped away by Govan. It was dangerous. Those ones for goalkeepers when you've got a crowded penalty area. Corner with some decent whip. That is, of course, the other big story in the starting lineup for Heidelberg. Reserve goalkeeper Ryan Govan makes, I believe, just his second appearance for Heidelberg since joining the club last year. First NPL appearance. Yaron Souza, who was a revelatory player for them in 2024. Groin injury on the eve of the season. They were hoping to potentially have him play in round one, but gone for safety first, and the ambition is for a round two return. They wouldn't want him away for any longer given the debut season he had at Olympic Village. One of two big injuries in the off-season for Heidelberg. Aiden Federhajic suffered an ACL injury. He'll be out for the season, the Burgers captain. Defence holding up okay so far without him, but still early days at Tomset Stadium.
Yeah, Federhajic, the player you bring up there, that's going to be a big blow. You'd have to think, particularly when it goes into those winter months, particularly when your depth starts to get a bit stretched, and someone who, of the pedigree that he has, both as a lead and as a defender, yeah, that's huge. That's a huge blow for Johnny A's side, but they're going to back themselves in as Marzi gets free here.
Here's Marzi, helped forward by Alex Hurd. Leo Marzi twisting and turning into the body. Huge shouts for a penalty. Play continues. Hurd off the post. Well, in the chaos and confusion, Alex Hurd nearly struck like an apex predator. Every head had turned towards referee Michael Mammis for a penalty shout, but the young buck just kept going. He said, I'll follow the maxim, play to the whistle. Play to the whistle he did, and very nearly to the delight of his new home fans. That was a firm strike from the fullback.
Presence of mind there from Hurd, very much reflected, very much a reflex action there, stayed in the moment and nearly conjured up a brilliant one to start his season. They might have got away with one there, Heidelberg United. Lethlean with a very close to call on a handball. Corner comes in.
Dunlop into the middle. Great first touch, it looked initially, from Leo Marzi, but Heidelberg conspire to deal with the danger. Becerra around the challenge of one, not a second. Carrigan did well. Dunlop. I was going to use the anecdote about 4 trainings a week, Katie, to make the point that Heidelberg had maybe were looking a little bit more sharp, a bit more fit in the early knockings, but it feels like the lever of this game is shuffled very quickly. I mean, I guess the thing about fitness is you probably don't see it as much as the start, so much as you do at the end. So time will tell. I could be proven right, but Melbourne Knights have done really well to not just get back into the game, but give Heidelberg a fair bit to think about. Dunlop will win a corner. Yes, he will. This will be nervy moments for NPL debutant Ryan Govan, because it wasn't that many minutes ago, Katie, that Kane Shepherd's corner earlier had him flapping about.
That's the kind of pressure you want to put on the keeper, particularly the one who is coming into the season not planning to be the starter. But again, Govan's going to have to step up here. They're going to try to put the pressure on. An out-swinging corner here, I'm not a fan. Get that in-swinging and really put him under pressure.
Yeah, the commentator's curse strikes as Morton drives it in and Collins clears it the first time of asking. It falls at the back stick. Another appeal for a penalty. Again, Michael Mammis waves the arms. He is unmoved. It was Thomas Karlovic who lashed one goalwards. And it was moving at a rate of knots that the actual alleged guilty party was hard to ascertain. Marzi prods it forward. Oh, Bramwell was lurking. Still alive. Lawless. Took a touch off a yellow shirt. Melbourne Knights' momentum continues to build.
Starting to turn the screws a little bit more here, the Knights. Again, but you've seen a lot of end-to-end kind of action. No real flow to it, apart from those opening few moments when Heidelberg had it in their half. But now the Knights have flipped the script here, and they're doing impressively well considering that. But they need to make something of this pressure. Stephen Lawless, I think, to take this one.
Lawless high to the back post. Cunha do well to make something of this and make something of it. He cannot. Interesting signing is Miguel Cunha from Susense in Portugal. He's played almost his entire career in his homeland in the lower tiers. 7 different clubs in Portugal. 2 stints in Greece, one of whom with Zakynthos, who a few NPL Victoria players have called that club home over the years. To the best of my recollection, though, Katie, haven't had a great many Portuguese players in the top flight over the years, so it's not quite in uncharted territory. I'm sure there's certainly been a few, but not as popular as some of your other European flavours of signings. So an interesting one from the Knights.
I rate it. I do. I know we've had maybe Fernando de Moraes as a Portuguese speaker, but you can't quite claim that status right now.
I'm not paying that one, Katie.
It's a stretch. It's a stretch. I'll admit. But
there are a lot of people who speak Portuguese that aren't Portuguese, but that might be a matter for another moment. Here's Sabitnor. Lesiotis. Dunlop is dropping deep to try and thwart the advances of Dalibor Markovic, and Carrigan is able to do exactly that.
The transitional play there of the Knights, I think you see just the work rate, and I think the key to that, Markovic getting forward there, they had him pinned back for a good moment, and I think that's the work rate. Players going to do their defensive work as well. I think all hands at the wheel. I think it's a 4-4-2 setup. I think we can safely say Heidelberg's still looking to knock the ball around this structure, this setup of the Knights. I think it's starting to reflect in Ivan Franic's image, to be honest with you. No nonsense, work ethic, and also some attacking flair that we're starting to see. So let's see how that transpires, but at the same time this looks sustainable as they look to build another attacking move here through Bramwell.
Great movement from Bramwell, and Marzi is going to be frustrated with himself there because he was caught offside in a fraction of play that he probably didn't need to be. Flag being raised on the near side by one of our assistant referees in Luke Genomatis. Mark Tito, the other assistant referee tonight, while Yanni Zizis, who's a very experienced head, is on 4th official duties and no doubt getting his fair share of exchanges in with both John Anastasiadis and Ivan Franic, who go head-to-head in the dugout tonight. It wasn't all that long ago that Ivan Franic was taking orders from John Anastasiadis in the dugout. Way back when, in the 2009 VPL season, and a fresh-faced pre-Socceroos Ivan Franic was playing under John Anastasiadis at Jack Edwards. A side that actually included St Albans Saints head coach Cam Watson, so that's become a bit of a coaching tree that year of Oakley. Of course, in action tomorrow night against Avondale in the newly named match of the round. Although it was a pretty hotly contested moniker in the opening round. There's plenty of cracking fixtures. South Melbourne to face Port also on Friday. Of course, the return of the big fish, Katie. Preston Lions at home to Hume City.
Love it. Absolute feast on your eyes for this season. So many contests. Melbourne Victory, of course, coming up. You've got so many storylines, so many passionate supporters of these clubs at the grassroots, and now I think you're going to see that come to the fore, and it's something that is going to, I think, really enrich the NPL Victoria this season as clubs continue to take strides toward that national second division.
Taking strides forward, buildup, marshalled well by Miguel Cunha, but at the expense of a Heidelberg corner, and they really do need to give Melbourne Knights a little bit to think about. This period where they've been on the back foot, the Burgers, has probably stretched into a 10th minute or so now. Other than that early save off a long ranger from Dalibor Markovic, Chris Oldfield hasn't had a heap of work to do, or even a heap to worry about in his general vicinity. Could that be set to change from the corner?
Also just turned 34, Chris Oldfield is going to be a big factor again for the Knights. You'd think he's just organising his defence here. An attack at the back post is looming, given the way that the Warriors are crowding the back there. See how it happens.
The in-swinger, Oldfield, trouble, chaos in the middle. Burgess couldn't get a clean shot on goal, and eventually Knights can clear. Well, it's again a corner that swings towards goal that puts the keeper under pressure. Ryan Lethlean was in the mixer. Did he muster a touch? He sort of got under the ball. There was a snap effort on goal by a Heidelberg player right on the goal line, but I think a Knights defender got their body in the way. And so just as we were saying, Katie, that, you know, the Knights, they need to give, or Heidelberg rather, need to give the Knights something to think about. There it is.
Different kind of approach though, right? I think the Knights have had a lot of luck on the transition, and they've utilised that long pass, that long ball toward Mazes with particularly good effect. The Knights are looking a bit, Heidelberg, looking a bit more patient as they build up here.
Sabitnor unloads! Oh, a top save again from Chris Oldfield. 34 years old and still going strong in NPL Victoria. He's the 3-time goalkeeper of the year. Those are the kind of moments that were Sabitnor's bread and butter last season. Available space, attack, shoot, and don't stop to think twice. And more often than not, last year he scored from those sort of situations. I would say Chris Oldfield winding back the years, but he has been that good for many years. He's 34 now, but sometimes you look at saves like that and you think, he has not aged. And we called back into action swiftly here, though. Markovic's corner delivery. Knights get head to ball first. Muir contests, and that one from Collins just lacking conviction. And a far easier proposition for Oldfield, who you can see what the intent is, even if it's ineffective this time. Get Knights moving and get them moving quickly.
100%. Again, utilising those balls down the channel, looking toward Mazes there to try and flip that script and try to put the Heidelberg defence back on its toes. They're just utilising possession as a way, I guess, to add some structure, trying to get some control over this game. But the Knights, aggressive in the way that they're putting pressure on the ball. That's got to be a great sign for Ivan Franic, as we're going to call back a free here.
A firm and not so fair challenge from Stephen Lawless. Michael Mammis did the right thing as a referee, tried to let play continue before eventually allowing Heidelberg to restart play, as is often their want from what many other teams in NPL Victoria would see as set-piece situations. Burgers opting to play it short. I'm not sure if it's historically been the Alexander way, but it is certainly the Johnny A way.
To be fair to them right now, I think that the way that they've structured the squad, and I think that the way that they've come up today, they're looking like a powerful kind of midfield. A team who is like physically direct and also can really, I think, stand up in those challenges. I think you need to be strong at this level physically, particularly in those dark days of winter. Knights are going to get the ball moving here. Great effect through Mazes.
That looked like a pretty clear foul. I mean, maybe Dalibor Markovic, it might have been disguised to the referee, the man in the middle, Michael Mamis, but there was no way that the assistant referee Luke Genomatis was going to miss that one. And so, look, he did have a 2-on-1 situation there, did Dalibor Markovic, who was, of course, signed after playing 12 games for Green Gully last season. But it's afforded a set-piece situation to Knights, from which Kane Shepherd, the former Burger, can wrap his boot around and loft it in the Cunha direction at the back post. It's the opening goal of the season for Melbourne Knights. One forward to another. They are off and running at Tomset Stadium. And ghosting into the back stick was Kieran Bramwell. And if that is a sign of things to come for Ivan Franic's side in season 2025, those two forwards linking up, Tomset Stadium is going to have a lot to enjoy. Melbourne Knights lead, and it is one of the former Heidelberg heroes who has a key hand in its conception.
Absolutely, Kane Shepherd, absolutely gorgeous ball in, had that shape, had that curve. The breeze did the rest of the work, but Kieran Bramwell, pure striker's instinct, got himself into the right spot, right time. That's exactly what you want out of your strikers. That's exactly what that partnership was there to do. And if that's a fantastic start to the Ivan Franic era here at Tomset Stadium, and you have to say it's deserved. You have to say that was coming. The Knights continue to build that pressure on, and now Heidelberg forced into a response here now through Markovic going forward.
Oh, Kieran Bramwell, he has at points been a maligned figure at Melbourne Knights. And no sooner did Leo Marzi think he might be in with a chance of doubling Melbourne Knights' money, had the linesman's flag going up against him.
Trying to direct the ball there to Sabinho on the far side. Not quite going to trouble that Knights defence as resolute as they have been. Again, Leo Marzi just needs to tighten those runs. That's, I think, the third offside flag that he has raised, that he has set off there. I understand playing high on the shoulder. We also need to just stay consistent in the game and try not to really interfere with that attacking flow that Knights have started to build here. Again, they're just trying to use, Heidelberg United just trying to use possession as a defence here, but the Knights won't let them rest. They're continuing to put that pressure on, challenge on the ball carrier, just continuing to work here. Markovic in some space now.
He's looking to atone for his sin. Of course, it was Markovic who gave away the free kick that led to Melbourne Knights' opening goal from Kieran Bramwell. As I said before, he's been a player upon whom opinion is divided in his now 50 games as of tonight for Melbourne Knights, but going off pure stats, you can't deny 13 goals, 16 contributions to goals in total last season. That is nothing to sniff at for any striker in this league, and he scored the first of 2025. And now the Burgers will look to answer back. Oh, Markovic, that was careless. Easy pickings for Fraser Dunlop.
We talk about players with the point to prove. I think Markovic is one of them as well. I think injury did him very little favours last year with Gully, but someone who came in with a lot of fanfare.
Oh, trouble here in the Melbourne Knights defence. It was Thomas Karlovic who was caught on the hop by the pressure of Asahi Yokokawa. And unfortunately for one of Melbourne Knights' youth success stories of last season, it was one of the old heads in Old Field who was able to snuff out the danger. They only conceded 21 goals all season, Heidelberg United. They ran a pretty tight ship, particularly at home, where they went the entire campaign without losing. I don't think John Anastasiadis would have been best pleased about some of the defending in the lead up to that opening goal. But what kind of response can they mount? Yokokawa, Juach, lovely turn, round the keeper. Oh, and a crucial block on the line. Thomas Karlovic, who made that mistake that went unpunished just seconds earlier. The Melbourne Knights boy does right by his side, saving the day and thwarting what was otherwise beautiful play from Johnny A's side.
Excellent pass to have Juach through on goal there. Just needed a fraction of a second short, and he could have buried that one away. Karlovic brilliant in that moment.
In from Yokokawa, tipped away. Idara on the follow-up. Oldfield's on the deck, and Michael Mamis will draw play dead. Another goalward-bound corner delivery that raised some hairs for Chris Oldfield.
They've caused a few headaches at the set piece, haven't they, Heidelberg? They've come a little bit close. They've just gone to attack at that moment. They can't quite make anything of it.
Marzi given one to chase. And it is becoming a familiar story of this first half. An intriguing relationship early doors, that of Leo Marzi and the offside flag of Luke Genomatis. I did have moments last season, particularly towards the back end of the year, Heidelberg, where they didn't always look at their swashbuckling best, but then would do exactly what they just did there, basically. Fashion moments of A-League, beyond A-League quality out of nowhere. Yokokawa worked under the ball. Michael Mamis, after a moment's pause, will grant Heidelberg the free kick that they asked for. Interesting, looking at the setup at the moment, Katie, to observe this. It looks to be a 5 at the back, or a 3/5 at the back for Melbourne Knights. It seems a little versatile. Alex Hurd and Fraser Dunlop operating as wing backs. You've got Thomas Karlovic alongside Ben Carrigan and Miguel Cunha forming that central defensive partnership.
Yep.
Which is big responsibility on the left-hand side of that defence, with a combined age of, I think, 39, Karlovic and Alex Hurd. 40. I was off by 1. Maths never was my best subject.
Me neither.
Great story, though. Tom Karlovic got his debut last year under Ivan Franjic back in May. Having returned to Tomset Stadium from Melbourne Victory in 2022. Prior to that, he'd played all the way here at Knights from under 7s to under 14s. So if you're wondering why there was such a big cheer for him earlier, and he made that great defensive block to deny Bull Juach, that might be why. They do love their own here at Tomset Stadium, that's for sure.
Very true. Very much a tribal feeling to this club, a passionate feeling. It's ingrained in so many through generations, to be honest, and even now in the future.
The fleet foot with Kieran Bramwell only created some problems, has created some problems for Ben Collins, who snaps at his heels. Bramwell continues, corner for Melbourne Knights. And it wasn't often last season that Heidelberg's now captain Ben Collins put a foot wrong in his new colours. Of course, playing tonight against his former side where he was in 2023. And his ex-teammate Kieran Bramwell was giving him all sorts of problems.
Very light on his feet there, Kieran Bramwell. He had Marzi at the top of the box, absolutely just waiting for him to play that cutback pass. Last-ditch defending there, a fantastic duel.
What can Morton fashion from this delivery? Shepherd was there. Heidelberg clear. Composed from Thomas Karlovic, just happily showing that one towards the line. as we enter the final 10 minutes of the first half, in which Melbourne Knights lead through their, well, he's their top goal scorer for this season so far, but he was definitely their top goal scorer last season in Kieran Bramwell. Set up from a wonderful set-piece delivery from the ex-Alexander player, Kane Shepherd. Bassetto. Great ball, but neither of his teammates in yellow could lay claim to it. And the Knights clear. Haven't seen too much of Max Bassetto on the left-hand side for Heidelberg United just yet. There's been plenty of play on the left for Heidelberg, but a lot of it has been dominated by the advancing movement of Dalibor Markovic.
That's it. And you got Jouash, who's being the focal point and who's frankly a cheat code, particularly on transitional type of plays like that. But I want to see more at his feet, to be honest. Bassetto now getting onto the ball. I want to see him. He can dribble. He tries to take it on there, but not quite working out. Just needs more of a supply. I think needs more of a direct supply for him to link up with Jouash and Nura as well. Undoubted quality that he possesses.
You might have been able to hear on our effects mic there the calls from Melbourne Knights players for a yellow for Dalibor Markovic. It's certainly not the first nippy foul that he has had this evening. And we discussed earlier, Katie, Melbourne Knights' ambitions to build on the foundations they set under Ivan Franjic when he was player coach in 2024. Would you not feel like maybe beating Heidelberg would actually be a big way to do that? Because you look at the all-time head-to-head, it is Melbourne Knights who just edge it 39-37. But in the NPL era, since 2014, where, you know, we know Knights have only made the finals twice in that time. Wow, that was impressive from Karlovic. They've only beaten Melbourne Knights. Melbourne Knights have only beaten Heidelberg twice in the NPL era.
Fascinating stat to be honest with you, but also if you look at the success of that George Katsakis era, it's not a complete and total surprise. I think it's just they found it hard to really get a hold of Heidelberg, and Heidelberg have just been at the top for a very long time. Marzi looking forward here, well defended there.
Ali kept a cool head, and you have no problems or no doubts about Sabit Noor's ability to keep that ball under his spell. Eventually lost out. 2023 was their last win against Heidelberg, Melbourne Knights, which wasn't that long ago, and it was one of their biggest in NPL history, 5-0. And that was the last, I guess, the dying embers of the George Katsakis era. Prior to that, 2015, the last time they got the beating of the Burgers, so it would be something we haven't seen a lot of. It certainly would be an early marker laid down for the hosts. There's only one player who's featured in both of those games, Katie. Kane Shepherd, who on neither occasion played for the winning team. Tonight he may well, though.
Absolutely. Again, such a story that both of these clubs shared. It's intertwined in some ways, both big names, both big-time clubs. And again, this is another chapter in that, and Ivan Franjic will be hoping to get himself and to get his team on the right side of that.
Poor clearance. Bramwell in the middle. Marzi! Govan had to be careful. He made the save, but he made it look more difficult than perhaps it should have. And in truth, Heidelberg did that throughout the whole sequence. Let's not forget, Katie, that all started from a Melbourne Knights throw. And Leo Marzi really should have scored against his old side to make it 2-0.
Don't know how many better chances he'll get like that tonight. A let off for the Heidelberg as they go forward here.
Oh, Buljuach, he's taking on all comers. He has numbers in a central area. And Chris Oldfield is a grateful man to have had the looming presence of Ben Carrigan over his shoulders, who just is able to divert it away from danger's path. And you do not get much respite in NPL Victoria. You miss a chance to make it 2-0 down the other end, and your opposition go a whisker away from punishing you at the other. And they may yet still. Yokokawa's corners have been very good so far tonight. Noor missed it in the air. And Dunlop allowed a free look at the football. Collins forced to retreat. Yokokawa. Basetto tries to clear the space with his run. Set in their shape at the moment, Melbourne Knights. Left lean. Lesiotis. Clever run from Basetto. Couldn't drop it back to left lean. We might have a second bite at the cherry. And Oldfield repels. Cunha clears the danger. And I reckon the pattern might be set to repeat. Heidelberg probe this time down the right. Idara's first touch was clever. And he absolutely sold his defender into a free kick. And there will be no shortage of eager takers to try and square the leisure at Tomset Stadium. And we were discussing Chris Oldfield, his ability at 34 to age like fine wine. I would add to that column 35-year-old Senegalese midfielder Mohamed Idara, who at his age continues to produce moments of quality.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The former Altona man as well. Idara, someone who, again, smart footballer, experienced, exactly knows, and exactly an asset for his team as we have the first yellow card of the NPL Victoria season. We'll just clarify who that was for in a moment, but this is a dangerous, dangerous area. Very close to a penalty as well. But I think this is the extended spell of pressure Heidelberg needed. What can they make of it? Can they draw forward?
Well, they would love to find a leveler right before the break. And Yokokawa and Sabit Noor are the players who stand over it, both of whom capable of great quality. And Yokokawa does exactly that, or very close to it. On the follow-up, the free kick was a poor one in truth. Perhaps in frustration he blasted away, and that looked much better than the initial effort.
Dangerous, dangerous area. They just did not nearly make enough of that. Heidelberg, nice, just standing firm though. You have to respect some of their game management here, not doing anything silly, just trying to absorb, just trying to maintain this lead. And into the halftime team talk in front here. And as we mentioned, this is a team I think that is very much becoming in Ivan Fanta's image as his own player, as he was as a player, attacking wise, defensively stout, immense work rate, fit as well. No real cobwebs to speak of out here, to be honest. I think both sides have gone at it really from start to the finish of this first half.
It's certainly been a willing contest, one which is currently shaded by the Melbourne Knights. Heidelberg have had their chances, they have had their moments of control, but a lot of times, be it needless fouls or errors playing it out from the back, they've been the agents of their own demise so much as Melbourne Knights creating a heap of threat in their own stead. Markovic back to left lean. This is a good press from the Knights. I think the frustrated gestures of Ryan Lethlean as he clears the ball out into the dirt terracing that I'm told will be scaffolded, or not scaffolded, sorry, concreted over the course of this season. Just giving it one of its last frustrated clearances into the red dirt. Dunlop. Yokokawa drew the contact. Do we have time in this first half for one last chance? The answer is no. Melbourne Knights in the ascendancy after the opening 45 minutes of season 2025. And you cast your mind back to last season when they took on a Greek compatriot in South Melbourne. It didn't quite go the way they hoped on opening day, but after a half of football in the new year, things are looking a lot brighter, and Kieran Bramwell is the man they have to thank. His goal on 25 minutes, a header that glanced the underside of the crossbar after he made a beautiful delivery for a former Alexander player, Kane Shepherd. Splits the sides at half-time. Both of them have given a reasonable account of themselves, Katie, but it is Heidelberg.
Refresh his side and just get his team back on a better footing here. But it's going to be a fascinating second 45 to come.
It absolutely will. Don't go anywhere. 45 minutes into the season, so many more to come. And a big 3 points still to be decided at Tomset Stadium, where at halftime it is Melbourne Knights 1, Heidelberg United 0. Welcome back to Tomset Stadium. The opening game of the season is about to get back underway for the second 45, where Melbourne Knights will look to do something they were not able to achieve on their home turf in 2025. They lead it thanks to their own number 9, Kieran Bramwell. Has them ahead against Heidelberg after a wonderful free kick from his new teammate, and many of these Heidelberg players' former teammate, Kane Shepherd, found his head on 25 minutes to put the exclamation point on a very entertaining first half of football, and one that could still go any way on the opening day. We usually see across the 12 opening day, first day of the season matches we've had in NPL over the years, about 2.5 goals a game, so we're due a few more in this second half, and as myself, Lockie Flanagan, gets rejoined by Katie Lambeski for the second stanza, it is Heidelberg who will need to grab some of those goals, if not all of them, on offer.
Absolutely, and they'll be hoping to get on the front foot early on in this second half. This is the chance now as Noor moves into space.
Here is the man who they will hope to do it. Noor brings the best out of Oldfield, and then Yokokawa drove it goalwards on the follow-up. And that is one of a number of maybe moments that the Burgers have had in this game. Chris Oldfield has made some very solid saves. He did so again that time, and Yokokawa, I dare say, if he had managed to fashion that first-time effort on target, probably had the keeper beaten.
Need to see more of him in this half, Yokokawa. I think he just needs to take undoubted technical quality that he brings. We need to see more of that in this half if Heidelberg to break even, or at the very least get forward here.
A foot race on between two former teammates in Leo Marzi and Ben Collins, chested down nicely by Shepherd for Fraser Dunlop. A new shape for Melbourne Knights. The early ball in the Shepherd direction. Side-footed clear by Lefleen. Dunlop couldn't fashion an opening. And so once again, as we saw in the first half, Heidelberg quickest out of the blocks. Not that it did them much good in the first 45, mind you. The Melbourne Knights settled their way back into the game, and you could argue were good value for a 1-0 lead. Carrigan, a great ball over the top for Shepherd, who has a fair bit to aim at, one of whom is Bramwell! And is it over the line? It is! Kieran Bramwell at the double. And Melbourne Knights are off to a flyer in the new season at Tomset Stadium. Unfortunately for Heidelberg, it's a second for their opponents that is somewhat of their own making. Ryan Govan, the reserve keeper who's filling in for Souza, really should have done better. But Kieran Bramwell and his head coach Ivan Franjic will take it. And all of a sudden, the boys from Summer Street sit in a commanding position on the opening day, and Heidelberg now have a mountain to climb.
So nice, he did it twice. Kieran Bramwell, brilliant there. Govan having a few words with the linesman, but not sure what he's trying to achieve. They're trying to overturn the call. Very little luck in that regard. I just think too much was on the ball. Bramwell just had too much on it, but at the same time, Govan, as you pointed out, needed to do better there. And that's a big, big blow. They've done very well at absorbing the pressure and fostering their own pressure, but going back the other way, the Knights. And they've done exactly that again. Double the lead here.
Well, if they can answer that quickly, Johnny A's men, it will settle the nerves somewhat. Idara. Lesiotis. Markovic. An up and down first 45 in Heidelberg colours for him. Gave away the free kick for the opening goal as it's prodded forward, tipped away by Oldfield. A big scramble, and the Burgers cannot find the goal that would have given them a route back into the contest. And these chances, Katie, as much as the play between the penalty box from both sides has been pleasing on the eye, they're coming out of nowhere and they're very chaotic in their conception.
Again, just a lot of space between the lines, not a lot of rhythm. It's just end-to-end pace almost, and I think that rhythm is suiting the Knights more than it is Heidelberg. The Knights have adapted better to it, and Heidelberg just haven't been. Both sides looking in ripping fit shape, I will give them that, but you need structure, you need flow, and Heidelberg just can't seem to create that, and Knights seem to thrive in the chaos. As Chris Oldfield just receives a bit of attention from the physio there, they'll be hoping this is not serious at all. It'll be a big blow indeed if it is. As calm as you like in the clinch, as calm as you like in pressure situations, indeed, Chris Oldfield, veteran, timeless player that he is.
And he has been very good tonight so far.
When he's called upon, right, minimum of fuss, minimum of pressure, he just takes it all on. He's seen it all, he's done it all. But again, he's back up on his feet. Good to see. A chance to breathe here, hopefully, and a chance to hopefully get in some sort of rhythm for Heidelberg's sake.
Three-time NPL Victoria goalkeeper of the year looks to be back to his best as he brings play back underway. Discussed in the first half, Melbourne Knights struggles in the NPL era in the league against the Knights. Of course, it was in the Australia Cup where the Knights last beat Heidelberg. Bulger Archer's given one to Chase. Field equal to the task. And it was that game back in September 2023 where Heidelberg led 2-0. One of the scorers was Kane Shepherd against the Knights, only for Croatia to come back to win it 3-2. Mitch Hoare scoring in the 97th minute. It is that sort of comeback that Heidelberg will need to pull off as Lesiotis unloads! Oh, that's how you start the route to a comeback. And it was the man who was sent off in that Australia Cup game against Melbourne Knights who gets the Burgers a route back into the ball game with a piece of brilliance. And that is the kind of strike that says welcome back to the NPL. Some hit from Anthony Lesiotis.
Right where the Spiders live. He has all of he has that in his repertoire. He has the technique, and then he has that ability to deliver a clutch moment like that. A big step in the right direction for Heidelberg, and an early contender for goal of the season, if you will. The Knights needed to close him down. He had way too much space there, and he thrived upon that. And that's a let-off that the Knights won't be looking to repeat here.
We've had 2 goals in the first 7 minutes of the second half. This is the NPL return we were promised. And you get the feeling there might be a little bit more chaos on the way. Game on at Tomset Stadium. And Kieran Bramwell second. It wasn't the easiest on the eye. It was a moment that the keeper Ryan Govan would like to have again at Chris Oldfield, who is an expert in making the difficult look very easy when it comes to the art of goalkeeping. Not a lot he could do about that one. Anthony Lesiotis. It is some way to score your first NPL Victoria goal, son.
What a strike. What a strike. We'll be replaying that for a while. NPL Victoria people, centre of the universe, chaos, memes, and absolute wonder goals as well. It's got it all. Do not take your eyes off this. Reset is the call there from the Heidelberg defense, and they're just going to... That's not one way to reset, I'll tell you that. That's a poor turnover. They've done that way too often this evening. Forcing the issue there, I believe, was big number 11. Fraser Dunlop, I've been impressed by him this evening so far. New colours, new digs. I think he's adapted to life pretty well. I think he's one of those in that back five, I think, if you will. Trying to make something there, trying to fashion an opportunity. Heidelberg on the ball now.
Well, if the first half showed flashes, definitely feels like we've got our NPL Victoria back now. Chaos crackers. And with 55 minutes played at Tomset Stadium, a contest. Everything you'd hope for and more on Thursday night football. And just as Heidelberg were looking in a hole, hope springs anew. Oldfield will gobble that one up, though. And you can't help but wonder whether or not we might see the involvement of some potential new faces off the substitutes bench sooner rather than later. It was basically an entire, in fact it is an entire bench, or all but one, of new signings for Johnny A. Daniel Barbanera, a reserve goalkeeper, formerly of Green Gully, but Fletcher Fulton from Moreland, Owen Stokes from Port Melbourne. Johnny Apostolopoulos is the familiar face, as well as Jay McGowan, as it's turned over nearly by the Knights, and eventually it is. Could it be 2-2? Surely not. Here's Sabit Noor. It was just behind his reach. And Peter Klaassen, the other option on the bench, who's come across from Queensland. Idara into the air. Lesiotis, the goal scorer. He thought about it again as well. And Yokokawa, or rather Bisetto, brought it down. And Miguel Cunha cleared emphatically. Bisetto tried to win back the ball. Eventually Heidelberg do. Idara. Noor. He's fast, and fast enough to keep that one in stride. Oh, and he's nutmegged Hurd. That is brilliant. Sabit Noor cuts it square. He did so well initially. He couldn't lay it out for a teammate in yellow. This game has really turned on its head in terms of the momentum. At 2-0, Knights looked in control. And we could certainly describe Anthony Lesiotis' goal as a net-busting goal, but it's looking like a game-breaking goal as well, because it's really disrupted the flow of things here at Tomset Stadium.
I mean, it's an old adage, but at the same time, it's a very fitting one. Goals change games. That's a sure way to change the course of a game and the momentum of a game, and that's what the Heidelberg, the visitors, have done this evening. Now, Knights can't rest on their laurels here. Knights can't really sit back and invite the Warriors onto them, but this is a good turnover and a counter press here by Heidelberg. One
back well by Dalibor Markovic. Bisetto. 3 Knight shirts in his way, and he couldn't find a clean passage through any. Lesiotis. Oh, good touch, Jamal Ali! A massive moment in the penalty box of Melbourne Knights. Heidelberg protests that Chris Oldfield got a touch, as Jamal Ali went one-on-one with the Knights goalkeeper. And it will be just a goal kick in the end. He does like to go on an adventure, does Jamal Ali. 26-year-old in his 3rd season, but 2nd full season with the Burgers this year. And he was doing that adventuring to great effect in the pre-season. Heidelberg went up to Queensland and won the Greek Cup up there. One of their first games of the group stage. They led 6-0 at halftime. Buljuach had a first-half hat-trick, as did Jamal Ali. Not often you see a fullback doing that sort of thing. All from open play as well. So that is a kind of goal-scoring threat from deep. But Johnny A will hope comes up trumps in the 30 minutes of football, plus stoppage that remain at Tomset on the opening day of 2025.
You see Ali just pushing into that midfield area as Noor tries to get on the end of that. A bit too much gas in that tank there, but at the same time, Jamal Ali, someone who can carry the ball forward, and that is such a skill to have, particularly at this level. Someone who can walk through or who can play through a low block. The Knights are just, I think, settled into that rhythm at the moment, and Ali's going to be a big factor in Knights in Heidelberg turning that around. Such a skill set that he has, and I want to utilize that to great effect in these next few moments now.
Both sets of substitutes sent to warm up by their respective coaches a few minutes earlier, almost simultaneously. Besetto will look to hunt that down. Shown comfortably over the line by Miguel Cunha. Still all to play for on the opening day. Melbourne Knights on course for 3 points in the opening game of the season for just the second time, and they have played a handful of opening day fixtures. Haven't won on round one of the first fixture of the season since Port Melbourne in 2021. And Heidelberg United have never won in the NPL era on the opening day. But we've seen our fair share of 2-2 draws, and that is well and truly on here at Tomset Stadium, if not a little bit more.
Both of these sides, we've seen them, create those comeback moments, those remontada type of moments. We'll see what can happen here. The Knights will need a fashion response of their own here. I think just Heidelberg, this is the most sustained pressure that they put on the Knights throughout this evening. They're going forward again through Noor.
It's a switch that asks the question of the Knights' defence, but it's a task to which they are equal. Noor, scythe down, legally so in the eyes of Michael Mamis. Markovic. Michael Mamis really getting involved in Heidelberg's build-up play in NPL men's game number 100 for the referee. Left lean. Certainly committing more numbers forward here are Heidelberg. As Melbourne Knights look to dig in. Besetto looks to chase. Hurd. Up and away. Bramwell did well. And that was expertly read by Ali. Karlovic. Hurd was caught being a bit too fancy. And there's space in behind for Sabit Noor to gobble up. He's usually good for a goal when Heidelberg need it most, but not that time. And it looks like this is the kind of pattern we're going to enter into. Heidelberg will throw numbers forward. They'll look to dominate the ball, and that might open up chances in transition for Melbourne Knights. Hurd's had a few careless moments in quick succession. Idara. Beautiful dummy. Yokokawa returns the favour. Idara couldn't get the shot away. A good tackle at full stretch to thwart the surging Senegalese midfielder. Even that is under pressure, and after a very bright start to life at Melbourne Knights, Alex Hurd, he's perhaps just feeling the pinch a little bit at the moment. The pressure of Tomset Stadium. It can get to many a young player, even an experienced player.
It's becoming an increasingly tougher league to play in, isn't it? An increasingly ruthless league. If you are not up for it, if you are not, if you're not on your feet, if you are not switched on, you will get found out. I've been impressed in patches from Alex Hurd this evening, but it's just a couple of loose moments there that he'll want to turn over, and he'll want to won't want to replay. And he said, Heidelberg go forward.
Yokokawa, Besetto! Not far wide. They may not have control on the scoreboard, but certainly in the flow of play. Alexander firming their grip on the contest. And as I cast my eye towards the Melbourne Knights bench, I think that the changing circumstances of the match are going to prompt a few fresh faces to enter the fray. confirmation for you shortly, but looks as though Steve White and Josh Carrance will enter the action. Oh, Idara, fantastic again. The way he moves his body, he's just dazzling sometimes. Been in the NPL since 2021, the former St. Pauli youth player. Signed in that 2023 mid-season window along with Jamal Ali. And hard to believe he fell at the time the Burgers signed him all the way down to Mill Park in the state leagues. And he's come back into the top flight and been one of the Burgers' best. Yokokawa sets a task for Besetto. The chance opens up and the Burgers are back in 2025. A debut goal for Max Besetto. The former Cannon fires Heidelberg back to level pegging. And you can't say, Katie, there hadn't been an air, a feeling at Tomset Stadium that it was coming.
It was coming. It was absolutely coming. That air of the game changed, the momentum of the game changed, and Heidelberg continued to press forward. Good googly moogly. That's a gorgeous finish there from Max Besetto. We know full well what he possesses, the skill set he possesses. He comes in with a bit of hype behind him. He comes in on the back of a good campaign. Western United, of course. He's had the backing, and now he makes the absolute most of his start here under Johnny A. That's a big, big moment in this game. What a way to make your start to the top flight. Well done, Max Besetto.
Well, it doesn't matter how many experienced players leave a club. There are some things about a side's identity you cannot change. They don't call them the cardiac kids for no reason. What do Melbourne Knights have in response? It's a long drive, and again Govan is unconvincing in his efforts to deal with it. And the Melbourne Knights have a corner, and it's a set piece that they need because they've conceded 2 on the bounce and they are up against it. Towards goal, away by Collins. Great first touch from Karlovic, who bought himself a yard. Nor covered well, though. And Besetto, excellent use of the frame. And holding off the challenge of Karlovic. He might have to go on a one-man mission. The only man in support is Sabit Noor. And eventually, the substitute. So I was slightly off in my prediction of Steve White and Josh Carrance. Masato Chiba, one of the new signings, the Japanese midfielder. We were talking about Mohamed Idara coming up from State League 2 with Mill Park. Another signing out of State League 2. Chiba having played his football at Altona East Phoenix last season. And it is Steve White who enters the pitch alongside him. 2 players who have got a task ahead of them to help Melbourne Knights back into this contest, which has exploded into life.
Needed a response, you'd have to say, and Ivan Franic is doing exactly that, bringing particularly Steve White on the off the bench, someone who can really refresh that midfield. A very smart footballer was the key to a lot of that success they had under that early success they had under Ben Suri. They'll want to take that a step even further here. The Knights, what can they manufacture here?
Chiba. Carrigan. Karlovic. And now Hurd. Helps it on its way for Marzi. Corner for Melbourne Knights. Marzi, who won the corner, looks to fashion something from it. Hurd. You can't begrudge the youngster for taking the shot. It opened up. Never looked like it had the curl, and now, well, this is going to be a substitution that will rankle some. Max Bacetto, who in truth, prior to his equalising goal and the chance that preceded it a few minutes before that, has had a quiet game by his standards, is going to be taken off, having scored the equaliser, and a very nice equaliser at that.
I'm a little bit surprised by that, not going to lie. I thought that his impact on the game was massive with that chip. I totally understand, but I think the way that the Knights controlled the majority of that first half saw his influence like really downplayed at that time. But again, it looked like he was on form, and I would have loved to have seen him stay on a little bit longer there. Nevertheless, Jay McGowan comes on, and we'll see what he can do.
A really interesting prospect, Jay McGowan. 23-year-old, signed from Sharks FC in NPL New South Wales, off the back of a breakout year for the team formerly known as Sutherland Sharks, in case you're wondering who on earth is Sharks FC. Six goals last year for Jay McGowan. That's a great ball over the top. Sheba is the player who's lurking, and Govan, well, credit to him for having the confidence to come off his line and do enough to snuff out the danger. Scored against some big clubs, Jay McGowan, last year. Twice against Marconi, one of which was a worldie, Sydney Olympic as well. They're hoping to produce big impact on his Heidelberg debut. That is easy pickings for Sabit Noor. Oh my goodness. He is so good to watch with the ball at feet. And here is Jay McGowan. Could he provide the instant impact? He just stops and props. One way, then the other. McGowan deflected. Yokokawa! Flashes across the face. And not for the first time tonight, we say of the Burgers, they may not always be at their best, but when they are on song, they sing a very fine song, because that was some easy on the eye football.
100%. Sabit Noor once again showing his absolute skill at this level, particularly one of the best going around, and that's a reason why. Again, Chiba did well to delay that. Chiba did well to double back and to hold off that momentum that was building down that left side, but again, Heidelberg looking the better of the two sides, a tale of two halves, if you will. More control, more say over the proceedings here. And they're looking a whole lot better for it.
And to think, so swift was the comeback that we still have 20 minutes of football to be played here at Tomset Stadium.
Josh Carant's looking ready. The bench there just receiving some final instruction there from Ivan Fanic and the coaching team. Might well be imminent. His instructions this game may well be imminent. We'll see who is next to him as well. Double change in the offing.
But in the meantime, it's a Heidelberg free kick. They take it short once more. The Burgers, Maxim, helped out of the penalty area by Steve White. Hurt again, plays his way into trouble. White kept a cool head though. It wasn't the best from Lawless, nor the full stretch was White. Could they turn a 2-0 loss, or a 2-0 deficit rather, into a 3-2 lead, Heidelberg United? Could they do what Melbourne Knights did to them in the quarterfinals of the Australia Cup in 2023? Or have Melbourne Knights got something to say about 3 points on opening day? Regardless of result, sometimes you leave something, Katie, it changes when you come back to it if you leave it dormant for a while. Bramwell is offside, so that stinging drive will count for naught. You know, sometimes you leave something, it changes fundamentally. A friend is different. You stop going to the gym, You lose your muscle. You start eating more, you put on weight. It's good to know that you come back to NPL Victoria after 150 days away, and it is just the same as we remembered it.
The more things change, they stay the same. That is for sure. In some cases, Lockie, the NPL Victoria is one of those. This is what we've been missing. This is what we were waiting for. We are so back, and we've got a great game to show for it too.
And this is a moment that Stefan Bresovic has been waiting for all off-season. He's on the pitch for his Melbourne Knights debut in place of Thomas Karlovic. And it's the end of Kane Shepherd's first game against his old side since leaving Heidelberg. Not his first game ever, of course, played against them back in his Avondale colours. Josh Carrance, as Katie Lambeski pointed out earlier, is his replacement. Well, good value. I mean, they have historically been good value for a late goal, Heidelberg, particularly last year. 17 goals scored past the 80th minute mark in all competitions, of which 5 were equalisers, 3 were match winners. Will the late drama break the way of Melbourne Knights? Leo Marzi, he knows all about the Heidelberg late show. You have to tip your hat to Heidelberg. Could have thrown the toys out of the cot after going 2-0 down, but they have kept their composure and resolve. And it has got them to where we sit now. Buildup, twisting, turning, driving, squaring, but not setting up a teammate.
Ben Collins in particular, he can tip his cap to that one, given how controlled he was from the back, winning possession there and just playing it out beautifully. I think he set the tone for what followed in that move there. And to be honest, I've seen enough. I've seen Buildup, Sabit Norb, and Max Bisetto are absolutely going to trouble NPL Victoria defences this season. No matter what comes beforehand, they'll always have that lurking X factor of those front three. But they have to be first choice going forward. You'd have to think. They are game changers in their own right. I don't know if I'm taking that too far, but at the same time, you can't help but feel excited for what they've given this evening.
Well, it's a decent prediction. I dare say, hold the phone. Left lean shins that one up, but not away. It's about to bounce by Collins, and Hurd contested well, and the snapshot is in. Would you believe it? Talk about a dream debut and an instant impact from Josh Carrance. And that is NPL Victoria to a T, just when you think this game is going one way. Upturn Melbourne Knights to tear up the script. It was poor defensive work from Heidelberg's central defensive duo. They should have smacked that ball away. But Alex Hurd refused to give up. And Josh Carrance pounced with aplomb.
Just when Heidelberg United thought they had the questions, Melbourne Knights had the answers. Melbourne Knights changed the questions there. Josh Carrance, take a bow, absolutely gorgeous finish, taking something almost out of nothing there, just out of sheer persistence. Alex Hurd as well, take a bow, manufacturing an absolutely game-breaking moment. You score 2, I will score 3. Melbourne Knights taking this game right back on. And Kieran Bramwell still on a hat-trick too, so much football left in this game to play.
Wakakawa to the deck. And when Heidelberg United came back from 2-0 down and equalised through Max Bisetto, it seemed like this game was only going in one direction if it was to end with a winner. And Josh Carrance and the Melbourne Knights have taken 2 fingers to anyone who thought they could crystal ball the opening day of season 2025. Anyone who thought they could try and predict the chaos competition. It will have to be 3rd time's the charm for Heidelberg, and they won't do it with touches like that from Jamal Ali.
How do Heidelberg respond to that? I don't know if they just can be. I don't know if it's as simple as them just leaning into their structure, leaning back into their possession. They did so well in the second half. They've carried a lot. They've carried a lot of the attacking bulk of this half. But now that's just put them right back on their heels. They're going to look to find a response here.
Cunha, the kind of intervention that will do his introduction to Melbourne Knights fans no harm. I mean, to put this into context, Heidelberg, their success in 2024 under Johnny A, built off the back of a solid defence. 21 goals conceded in the league all season. They've already conceded 3 tonight. Will that be a corner? No, good work from Chris Oldfield to deny a cheapy set piece. And we are entering the crunch at Tomset Stadium. It's been a special one so far at Summer Street. Is there one last twist in the tail? Is there a couple still left in the offing? Only time will tell. This has certainly whet the appetite for almost full weekend of fixtures still to come. Idara, a substitute ready and waiting. Looks like Johnny Apostolopoulos for Alexander.
Too much space for Idara through midfield here. They need to curtail his influence. Can't let him carry the ball like that and try to link up and find that front three, as we mentioned.
Jukakar wins it back on the second ball. He was legged by Stefan Bresovic. Free kick about 30 yards from goal for Heidelberg, and that will allow them to make the substitution. And in fact, it's not Johnny Apostolopoulos. Mohamed Idara's day comes to an end, and it is a Alexander debut for a player who I wonder whether or not he will step up to take this free kick as his first action, because Owen Stokes, who comes from Port Melbourne, fresh off the back of 6 goals and 6 assists in his debut season in NPL Victoria. Of the 6 goals he scored, 3 of them were spellbinding bits of Irish magic. And here he is, straight on the dead ball. Well, Josh Carrance is the clubhouse leader for best introduction so far to your new side. Now Owen Stokes will look to put him to the test.
Say his name and he appears. I wonder if he'll try to send this down the channel. There's a distance toward this. We'll see how he goes.
Okay, it's a trick play. Sabit Noor, he was caught on the hop. Stokes gets his first open play touch, and it sends McGowan into a bit of a retreat. Stokes again. Great turn and pass, left lean. Double deflection. Clever stuff from Carrance, the man from Thunder. And Knights are on the march. Ali did well, though. Well, you're still absolutely, with 8 minutes to play, leaving the door ajar for a Heidelberg 3-3. And maybe for another goal after that. But if Melbourne Knights are to find a fourth, you would have to imagine that puts this game beyond the reach of Alexander. Cardiac kids though they may be. Carrance. His teammates urge him to drive. Shifts it to her.
You'd have to think a fourth equals night-night for Heidelberg United. You would think stranger things have happened, that is for sure, but then time is of the essence this evening.
Collins, the stand-in captain. Stokes. Not much taking his fancy further afield. Another Melbourne Knights substitute in the offing. Red shirts camped in blocks ahead of the Heidelberg goal. The goal that Heidelberg are attacking as it's dropped over the top. Sabit Noor, it's his moment! But for the offside flag, and the Melbourne Knights fans under the Mark Viduka stand at Tomset Stadium very much enjoy the end result there.
Very much a partisan crowd here, and a very healthy crowd at that. Fantastic to see so many people out in force here on night one. Another change here in the offing. A double sub for Croatia, or might be just the one.
Just the one player, it looks like. Off goes Stephen Lawless. And on comes one of Melbourne Knights' favourite sons in Anthony Dazelle, who will step onto the field for what will be his 11th senior season as a Melbourne Knights player. Bringing up a 20th year, not concurrent, but in total year as a Melbourne Knights player. NPL Victoria appearance 161. For the man they call Duzzy. It's been a long time between drinks in front of goal for the midfielder. Yeah, good time to pop up at Tomset Stadium with a sealer. And it has the feel of a game that needs a sealer if the Knights are to claim all 3 points.
I feel like there's a certain calm before the storm. You would have to think it's all gotten a bit of like a lull, that pre-lull, before something big happens, and a change as well coming here for Heidelberg.
Dalibor Markovic, his Heidelberg debut at an end. And I dare say, based on the movement of the magnets here, that this is kitchen sink stuff from Johnny A. He's not going to die wondering. Fletcher Fulton, who comes across from Moreland City, thrown into the attack, and he has scored before against the Melbourne Knights. That was his second NPL Victoria goal, albeit in a 4-1 loss. Govan cross chases Leo Marzi. So McGowan is sort of fulfilling a bit of an auxiliary left-back position, but if you look at where the Heidelberg players are on the field, you can see what this means. They are going for broke.
No other choice, you'd have to think. Fletcher Fulton trying to get things moving here.
And that is a great exchange of pass between Yokokawa and Fulton. York couldn't take it in stride. Lesiotis across, and a poor touch from Stokes. Sets Carrance on his way. He has provided some serious energy. Rather, that was Chiba. My apologies. Both he and Carrance have had their impacts off the bench. Down goes Steve White. Off goes the whistle from Michael Mammis. Getting towards that juncture where now time is starting to become a bit of an enemy for Heidelberg. Although we still don't know just how many minutes of stoppage will be added onto this fixture.
Got a couple of goals in there, the subs as well. I think we're good value for about 2 to 3 minutes, I think. We'll confirm that very shortly, of course. Again, it just goes to show those subs, right, as you allude to, Josh Carrance, some of the impact that they've had off the bench. You know, Masatu Chiba, Stefan Brechovic, Josh Carrance, they've all started to make a name here.
Bramwell was nearly slipped in for his hat-trick by Leo Marzi. Chiba. Early ball. Carrance, the target. Chesting, controlling, backheeling. And nearly something special to seal it from Josh Carrance. The Burgers live to fight another day. Can the Cardiac Kids come alive again? Is there another heart starter in Sunshine? Fulton. Oh, the first touch set himself up wonderfully. And Chris Oldfield again equal to the task.
Without a doubt, Fletcher Fulton understanding the assignment here tonight, making an impact, just making an absolute nuisance of himself, covering as much ground as he can, getting on the ball and driving forward, trying to get on the end or try to manufacture a move here. Corner to come.
Heavy weight on the shoulder of one of a dozen Burgers' new men in Stokes. And the delivery not quite reaching the heights that he is capable of. John Anastasiadis still marshalling his troops, but you have to imagine that fourth official Yanni Zizis will be getting some side-eye at the moment from the Burgers skipper, just to see how many minutes might come up. McGowan. Ali. Time of the essence for the visitors. Yokokawa had it robbed off his toes. And Dazelle, he's not the fastest. And so home he heads for Hurd. Bresevic up the line. Ali rose highest ahead of Bramwell. And if you can hear a chorus of boos in the Tomset Stadium grandstand, it is because Yanni Zizis has put 6 minutes onto this contest. I would take 60. It's been that sort of an opening game here for season 2025. Everyone except Melbourne Knights fans want more of this. And they may get more than they bargained for. Collins gets it away from the rapidly advancing Bramwell.
Bramwell with a very much a quick turn of pace there. Really impressive at this late juncture of the game, that is for sure. Collins forced to make a last-ditch interception. There was a foot race and really, really crucial that he couldn't get through there. They might not mind the 6 minutes of added time if it means one more goal.
Well, that's kind of the question, isn't it, Katie? How hard are they going to search for a goal from this corner? It's definitely getting towards sitting on the 1-0 lead territory. Anything that chews up time, I think at this point they'll take. It will have to be something mighty from the Burgers. Probably playing to salvage a point at this juncture. Probably time for one more goal, and a decisive one in whatever direction it heads. Chiba has done well. But the cross lacking accuracy. So much so that it hasn't gone out for a goal kick. It's a Heidelberg throw. So Melbourne Knights will look to lock it in and force another stoppage. Hurd heads to a central area. Stokes. It was hopeful, but not effective. Fulton sends it into the night sky, and these are not good moments if you're a Melbourne Knights defender, because Sabit Noor has robbed them of the ball. Sabit Noor for Fletcher Fulton. Yokokawa scoops it. Oh, it is brilliant, but it's just off target, and it remains alive. Yokokawa tipped into the middle. A poor clearance off the underside of the crossbar. Incredible. McGowan deflected out for a corner. NPL Victoria football in its most pure essence. That was a magical ball over the top from Yokokawa to set it up initially. It was not dealt with well by the Melbourne Knights defence, and Stokes cannoned it off the crossbar.
The subs on both sides continuing to make an impact, continuing to change the flow of this game.
Yellow shirts cam to the back stick. Now do they spread? Collins rises. But it's a Knight's head that is first to the football. McGowan tried to keep it alive. McGowan, Fulton shielded it from red shirts at left and right, but Bresevic was clever and avoids conceding a corner. Now, Katie, I want to cast your mind back to Heidelberg's last away game from the final, from season 2024. They trailed 1-0 in the 95th minute, scored in the 97th and 99th. They can do this, but they have to do it. And they have to do it soon, and they won't do it if Chris Oldfield is making claims like that. They still have 2 minutes, 90 seconds.
They made the comeback an art form at this level. I don't know if this is beyond them, but they're continuing to push. They're not going to die wondering, that is for sure.
Is there one last roll of the dice for the Burgers? Or will it be all she wrote? Karantz was offside. Dovan will get it going quickly. Last chance saloon. We have seen them do it time and again over the years, this club. Lesiotis pokes it to Fulton. Cross deflected, Fulton again! You couldn't write it. Buildup turns the ball home in the dying minutes, only to see the flag come up on the opposite side. Even by NPL Victoria standards, this is something. Buildup thought he was the hero. He thought, oh, I understand the Heidelberg way. Late goals, it's just what we do. But a matter of millimeters is all that stands between Heidelberg and a heroic comeback. And is that in a pulsating first fixture of 2025? It is! NPL Victoria is back. And how have we missed nights like this? Melbourne Knights led 2-0 thanks to a Kieran Bramwell double after 47 minutes played. Heidelberg came from the clouds to make it 2-2. And just as it looked as though the Burgers were going to storm their way through to 3 points, Josh Karantz came off the bench to score the winner within minutes. They hung on Ivan Franic's side. Buildup had a 3-3 goal disallowed with one of the last kicks of the game. But when it's all said and done, it is Melbourne Knights who right the wrongs of Thursday night football in round 1 of 2024. And they taste victory on the opening day, and that one will be oh so sweet.
They will enjoy that, and deservedly so, and rightly so. The roar of the crowd, that roar of relief tells the story. Chris Oldfield dashing out of his goal to celebrate with his teammates tells the story. Football at its finest, emotion, passion, absolute chaos. So many changes in momentum, so many stories in this game, but what a treat as night 1 of the NPL Victoria season. Absolutely stunning goals, continuous, full-hearted passion, everything we love about this league, everything we love about this game on display here tonight. What an absolute cracker. Brilliant contest between both sides. Melbourne Knights had to stayed in the fight for as long as possible. They took their knocks, they took their drawbacks, but they were able to find a way. Kieran Bramwell doubling up, Josh Karantz popping up when it mattered most. Way to ingratiate yourself back to your new fans. What a moment, and the fans are going to enjoy this as the players approach the stands. Well done. Mark Viduka stand, mind you. What a scene here at Tomset Stadium.
Melbourne Knights players leave to rapturous applause from their home faithful. And they well deserve it. There is only one bigger winner than Melbourne Knights tonight, and that is fans of Victorian football. We've waited 152 days, but it has been worth the wait if that's what we're getting in 2025. 3 points for Melbourne Knights on the opening day of the season. And thankfully, it's just one sleep until more fixtures are on the way. But if that is a sign of things to come, it's going to be something special, is 2025. Signing off from Tomset Stadium, the full-time score on an opening day epic. Melbourne Knights 3, Heidelberg United 2.